think it is, started. Okay, there it is, so we can start. Welcome, everybody. I think we're going to have a great session today. It is myself. Yeah, I've got two guests today. So let me start with the guests quickly. There's Rita Jongbloed.
Hello.
And
in the hand.
yeah, it's a good time to show her.
I mean,
And there's Ellen. Um, and he's joining us. Well, he's in any case always here. Um, and then Stephen is going to join us at 3:30. So let's kick off today. So in terms of Rita's most likely wondering about the fact that I battle with the technology here. There's Chris Wilkin joining. Hello, Chris.
Hello everyone.
I can just move this thing on. It will also be. There's okay. Okay, so if you are not on the WhatsApp group, scan that QR code in. I'm going to show it now again. So get your camera, your phone ready with your camera, and then on that WhatsApp group, we also put a recording there. You're already there. We put a recording there, and we give you additional information there, and join us on that group. So let's just recap what we have discussed. So the first time I spoke about something that Alan often speaks about. He says he had played some golf with Gary Player, and Gary always said, 90% is in the mind and 10% in the skill. But if you actually look at Gary Player, he was actually not a very talented or rather natural golf player. And he practiced very hard. But his biggest training was in his mind. And that is why he was so successful. Then last week we also spoke about what makes these three gentlemen different from us: Bill Gates, Sir Richard Branson, and Elon Musk. And the thing is, if we look at this at us, our mindset is always this negative talk. We talk about the industry, or it's too late, or I'm not qualified, I don't have the experience, and I can't find clients and things like that. Very negative talk. And your mind, when you say you can and when you say you can't, you're going to be 100% correct.
Yes. Can I add something?
Yeah.
The reason why those three guys are different from us is because they only have $1 billion in the bank.
If you want to sit here, Alan. And in what we said last time, we said that they have different, their talk is positive, but what they do is they write it down, they reprogram their mind, and they just expect success. When you read the story of Virgin and Sir Richard Branson, there was no reason why I should buy the airline. But he decided, I'm going to do it, and he expected success, and it manifested. And I think that's what's important. But I did say to you that I will be vulnerable in this whole program. And I'll share with you what I went through this month. And only one example. So I'm doing the task. For the people that's new, there's tasks that you have to do every month. So the first one was I had to write it down, and I had to be specific. And I had to do a presentation, a training session to the trustees of the fifth largest medical scheme in South Africa. Oh, sorry, fourth largest medical scheme in South Africa. And I had this in my mind, and I said, I'm going to do a presentation that's going to impress the audience. And I'm going to get additional business after I've done the presentation. So that was my presentation. I'm going to be, I also said I'm going to be on time. The presentation is for an hour and a half, and I will spend an hour and a half. I will impress them by actually keeping to the time limit. And I visualized every single day. I knew the room. I said where I'm going to sit. In my mind, where I'm going to sit, how I'm going to present it. Guess what? When I walked in, the person that actually said to me, you know, that arranged it with me, he said to me, please go and sit there. And that was exactly the spot that I actually had in my mind. And when I did a presentation, I had in my mind how the people will come in, how I will greet the people. And all of that manifested. And when I walked out with the principal officer, he says, listen, I need to have you actually talking to some of my leadership team about some of the stuff that you have spoken about. So I got additional benefits out of that. Okay. And I recorded that. And every single day, I actually, and going through, if I give you the letter that I received from him, was exactly the letter that I had in mind. The value that I add, the appreciation of the value that I actually had. And when the people spoke, the trustees spoke afterwards, when they gave feedback, that was the feedback that I actually gave back. But the interesting thing is, I said, in my preparation, I said for myself, they're not going to ask me any question that I can't answer. And there was a question that I asked about the ethics, and I answered the question. And the answer back from the exec, because the whole executive team was also there, from the legal executive, he said the council had a problem with this thing, with this ethical problem. This was the problem. We answered in this way, and the council accepted that answer, Council for Medical Schemes. So that just shows you, if you prepare, I couldn't prepare for that question. It was impossible to prepare for that question. I couldn't foresee that question. But I said, I am knowledgeable. I know my topic. I understand ethics. I wrote a book about medical schemes. I wrote a book about ethics, and I will make this presentation the best presentation that I have experienced in their lifetime. And one of the trustees said to me that it's her second medical scheme that she's a trustee of, and this is the best training that she's ever received. And she went to GIBS, she went to the Council for Medical Schemes training. So that manifestation actually helped. So why do I share this? Why am I vulnerable about it? Last time I explained the case that I was busy working on, the 8 cases, and the doubt that I had. I want to be vulnerable to you guys so that you can actually see that this program actually works when you work the system. So, so it's got to do with the power of the mind. And I want Rita to talk to you also about the power of the mind.
Hi everyone. And I love seeing the people that I know from Fourways. And I feel like we're speaking to the converted. Leanne, Corin Burger, Chris. It's so lovely to connect with you, even though it's online. When Andre and I spoke, I think the importance, and I think a lot of you know this already, but the importance is really understanding. It's one thing that we discuss and we talk, but when we take action on these things, we actually see the results. So the first question that I thought of asking was from the people that looked at the previous session, who implemented the work that was suggested? Can I just see a raised hands? Corin, you were there the previous time. Okay. Okay. And from that, and who finds it difficult to start this change? Because when you start learning your mindset, and a lot of us can agree on this, when you start this kind of work, it's a new habit. It's something we are creating, and creating takes some energy. So for my part, I'd like to do an exercise today that helps with just taking that step into focusing on the mind and start doing the work, start integrating into the body, taking action. Because taking action is a effective way of learning. And I'm speaking to the converted. I love this. I don't have to say anything today. Okay, so for a moment, I'm going to focus. I just wanted to focus in. Can I put this sound off?
No, sorry.
Not. Okay, so we're just going to focus over it. So I want you to take a moment and just really get into the space where you're at. We're just going to do an exercise where I show you the power of the mind, that your mind can actually see. And I think the important thing is, when we work with our mind, is to be very intentional and directional. You are the one in control. So you don't leave your mind. We all know, okay, our mind is powerful, but the important thing is that you are in control of the mind. You are directing. Your mind is the engine, and you are directing the engine. You are in the driver's seat. And the exercise we're going to do today is just to show you, to put you in the driver's seat. Because when you're clear on your intention, and I love what Andre said, he instructed his mind of the outcome. He gave it that image. He said, this is what we're opting for, nothing else. I feel like the screen is so high. I'm just going to put that down a bit. So he instructed his mind very clearly, very intentional. The image he gave it to follow where the direction is going. It's like typing in your coordinates, precise location on your GPS, so that your vehicle, so that you know exactly where you're going. So the exercise I'm going to do today is going to involve that we just take a moment and relax and really get into our.
Sorry, I don't know where you are.
We're taking a commercial break.
Yeah. Commercial break.
Commercial break. We can do a Nando's ad. Okay. Are we ready, Andre?
Yeah.
Okay. I think he just put the sound off for us. Here we go.
I went to buy half a chicken at Nando's.
Here we go. Here we go. We went to buy half a chicken at Nando's, and
they only had quarters.
They only had quarters.
Yeah.
So I think we're back on track. So for this, hello, Charmaine.
Hello.
Hello. I'm so glad you made it. Good to not see you. To connect without seeing you. So Charmaine, just to recap, we're going to do an exercise on the power of the mind and how to instruct your mind intentionally on where you want it to go. Because we know it's a vehicle, we know we're taking control of the steering wheel, we know we're instructing the engine to go in the direction that we want it to go into. So for this exercise, we're just going to take a moment and really focus in on our thoughts. So get into your room, intentionally set your intention to focus for the few minutes that we have. Bring your body into stillness. Switch out the outside noise. Be very intentional with instructing your mind and telling your mind that you want it to be calm. You want it to focus. Deep breath in. Intentionally instruct your mind to relax your body. Stillness. Be very intentional with how you speak. Take control of your vehicle, of your engine. Take a few deep breaths. As you exhale, release the tension that you have in your body from the day's work, the family, everything that's happening in your life. And just intentionally release it. Intentionally instruct your mind to put down what it's holding on to. Take your time. Really focus in and take ownership of your mind. I'd like you to take out your hands. For those of you who can see my arms, if you just take a moment and look at my arms, I look like I'm on a motorbike. So hold out your arms like that for me for a moment, okay? Like you're riding a bike. And then I'd like you to close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Get back into your space and take ownership of your engine. Be very clear that you are instructing. Now, I want you to imagine that in your left hand, you're holding a bucket of sand. Weighs about 15 to 20 kilograms. And the bucket, as you hold it, and the more you try to hold on to it, the bucket is getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And the weight of the bucket is pulling your arm down. And the more you try to resist holding up this bucket, the more it's pulling you down and down and down. And the more you pull up, your muscles are getting tired. Your body is taking a strain. The bucket is becoming too heavy for you to hold up. And I want you to take your focus for a moment and shift it to your right hand. And I want you to see on your right wrist that you have a string. And on to the string, there's a set of helium balloons tied to your right hand. Focus in on those helium balloons. And I'd like you to feel how those helium balloons are pulling your right arm up. And your right arm is becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. And as you focus in, you can feel yourself drifting. You can feel the weight from your right hand being picked up as if there's no weight. It's light and movable and free. Keep on focusing on the balloons in your right hand. Feel how you're becoming lighter and it's easier to move your hand. And the more you see it, the more you feel how light and easy it is to keep your hand in the air. And I want you to bring your focus back to your left hand with the bucket of sand, and feel how your arm is taking strain in trying to pick up that bucket. And the more you try to pick it up, the longer you hold onto it, the heavier it becomes, and it's pulling you down and down and down, and your muscles are shaking trying to keep this bucket up. Keep focusing on the bucket. The more you try to pick it up, the heavier it's pulling you down. You can open your eyes. And I want you to notice where your arms were, your right hand and your left hand. Who could feel, who could feel the energy, the weight, and the lightness of your arms? Corin, I see a shop there. Andre, did you experience that?
Mm.
You could feel, yes, I saw. No, I should have held the screen and move because Andre's arms were like this. Okay. Could you see when you set your intention with your mind, your body followed pursuit? And this is what happens when we instruct where we want to go. So we are absolutely in control of our outcome. Like Andre said, we just need to be intentional with the instruction that we give. And when we're intentional and we say, this is my outcome, this is where I'm heading, I can see exactly where I'm going. The mind follows pursuit. And I love that in our discussion, Andre, you mentioned that you said the more detail you give, the clearer the image is, the more your mind can focus. So I hope, well, I'm sure I can't see all of your faces, but I know that the integration exercise showed you the power of the mind, and that's from my side.
Thanks a lot. Ellen, I think I want you to just quickly tell us about the refrigerator story again.
Okay, before I do that, can I just explain something about the mind? Because, you know, an elephant, they always say a memory like an elephant never forgets. And, you know, the thing is, we are also programmed. If you, in the old days when they used to have elephants in the circus, did you ever go to the circus and look at the elephant standing outside of the tent, waiting to go in and perform? And they've got this tiny little rope around their right foot into a wooden stake that's been hammered into the ground. And the elephant will stand there the whole day if it has to, although it could just walk away if it wanted to. But what happened when the elephant was young and it was first brought to the circus? It had a huge chain around its neck, and it pulled and pushed and trumpeted, and it couldn't move. And as the elephant grew a few months older, the chain got smaller. And as the elephant grew a few months older and a year old, the chain was replaced by this little rope. And now that the elephant is 3 or 4 years old, it has this tiny little rope around its leg, and it will stand there the whole day at the circus tent, thinking that it can't go anywhere because the mind was already programmed that there's nowhere to go. It can push and pull and trumpet and do what it likes, but it can't move. And our minds work exactly the same. When you were younger, your parents told you, don't climb up there, don't go under there, don't mind you're going to fall there, you're going to break your neck. I'm sure we've all experienced that. And that's how we grow up with all this negative thought in our minds. So you need to have a change of thought. You need to change gears. You need to realize that what Rita just explained to us now in the power of the mind is just how strong and how powerful the mind can be. And you know, if you look at these scientific statistics, what do they say? We use like 5% of our brain power.
Mm.
Now imagine if you could just increase that 5% to 10%. How awesome would that be? And I mean, have you ever driven your car anywhere and you don't know, you get to your destination and you can't remember how you got there? What happened? Your subconscious mind actually took over. And the subconscious mind is a lot stronger than the conscious mind. You know, there's another example I want to give you before I get to the railroad story. This guy in his bucky is driving along this farm road, and this woman comes around the corner very sideways with windscreen wipers going and the lights on, and she's going sideways around the corner, misses him by inches, and shouts out of the window, "Pig!" And he says, "You stupid bloody cow. You call me a pig and you can't drive. I got a good mind to turn around and chase after you and give you a piece of my mind." That's what we would be thinking, eh? And then as the guy gets around the corner, there's a mother pig in the middle of the road with 3 babies. But his mind never for 1 minute thought that his thought was, what a stupid bloody woman. And that is just, that's how we've been brought up to think. We have these negative thoughts. But to come back, Andre, to your.
Can I just,
Hmm?
Stephen is on another call
Yes.
and he joined us. Let me just deal with Stephen
Okay.
quickly.
Okay.
Stephen, there's something that you want to share with us today. We're going to talk about it now. We started a bit later, but what do you want to share with us in terms of discipline, in terms of your business? I know what you want to share, but I want you to share it with the rest of the people.
100%. Thank you. How's it, everyone? How's it, Alan? Nice to see you, mate. One of the things I work with is the planning session on a Monday morning. Andre, I don't know if you just wanted me to share or just chat or share my screen. I can do either.
Just share.
Oh, yeah, very good. So in terms of business rhythm, what I've put together in my program is based on kind of 6 ideas. One is having a vision for your life as well as your business, and then planning, then taking action, then learning, and then actually connecting. All right. So on a Monday morning, so the business, the $1 Million Business Rhythm, Monday mornings, we have a planning session for half an hour, and we actually just work on what are the most important things that I can do today and this week in my business. Very powerful, half an hour of planning, and then people tell me the next hour is the most productive hour in their week, because we encourage them just to take the 3 or 4 most important goals and do them immediately. Then on a Tuesday and Thursday, my learning sessions, learning AI in business, that's a rhythm as well. And then on Wednesdays, we alternate from August onwards. The first week is vision, so working on your vision for yourself and your business and aligning those. The second is Gold Rush and its action takers. So that's focused on prospecting and following up on deals, and actually it's a taking action to get business. The next one is the round table, which is a little bit of networking and peer group discussions. And the final Wednesday of the month is around business basics. So getting clear on your vision, your mission, your USP, your deliverable statement, your credibility statement, your big branding statement. And so people that have joined, we move around this rhythm around getting your vision right, getting your planning right, getting your learning right, getting your taking action right, etc., etc. And we just move around this vision over and over again. I'm not sure if it was the Monday mornings you were more interested in, Andre?
It's more about a Monday morning. So in the Monday mornings, what does that help?
Well, so we start off with basically having a look at where you are now and where you want to be a year from now, and what 5 goals you can set to achieve that, and then what are the actions? What's the next action in each goal? Then we look at prospects. Who are your hot prospects, and who do you need to follow up with, etc., etc. And then your daily rhythm. So I have a rhythm. Many of you will notice I do some marketing. I do some sharing on Facebook. I do some sharing in a Sanctum, etc., etc., and WhatsApp groups. And I have a routine that I go through every day. So out of those 3 ideas, we pull into a Excel spreadsheet for the week. What are the most important things we need to do? What are the actions that I need to take for the week? Now, I usually get about 12 or 13 during the half-hour session, but by next Monday, I'll have about 20, because What I do is it's a working document. When I think, okay, what do I need to do next? I open that document and see the next important action. And secondly, when I think, oh gosh, I've got to phone Andre and ask him about XYZ, or I've got to phone Alan and ask him about XYZ, I put that in, phone, and then tick it off as done. So it's really starting your week off with the right intentions and with the right plan, and then actually ticking off those goals. And then the next week you'll come back and hold yourself accountable. So one of the first things we do is, what did you say you were going to do last week? What did you do? What didn't you do? If there are things you didn't do, are they important enough to come back to and put onto this week? If not, just delete them. So the action planners on a Monday morning is really about getting the discipline of just focusing for the week. And I think I see Chris Wilkin here. I think I see Corin Berger here. And I think I see Andre Jacobs here. All of you are on that. And maybe Chris or Corin can confirm that. That's incredibly powerful.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. Alan, over to you in terms of the refrigerator story.
Okay, to get back to the refrigeration unit. So sorry for the people who heard this story before, but it's quite important. It's this rail yard in Chicago where the trains were shunting up and down, and this guy was working on the refrigeration unit in this one rail truck. And at 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, when everybody was knocking off and sirens were going and trains were shunting, somebody walked past, not realizing he was in this refrigeration unit, and slammed the door closed, which couldn't be opened from the inside. So he was locked in there. He realized that he was going to be there the whole weekend till Monday morning, when somebody came and opened the door and he could get himself out. But he was already starting to feel cold. And as happens, I don't know if any of you have climbed Everest, but if you start suffering from hypothermia, what happens is the body is such an amazing machine. It takes the blood from your fingers and your toes and your nose to the organs that keep you alive. That's why people come down from Everest having lost their toes and their fingers and sometimes their nose, because the body is trying to stay alive for as long as possible and takes all the blood from those extremities to the organs that count, like the heart and the lungs and kidneys and liver, etc. So he knew he was actually starting to get cold. He had a pencil in his little toolbox, and he started writing a letter on the side of this refrigeration unit inside to his wife. He wrote a letter of how much he loved her and the kids, and he realized he was now stuck in this refrigeration unit, and he was already starting to feel cold and starting to shiver, and he wasn't sure whether he was going to be able to survive the whole weekend at this minus 20 degrees that's in this refrigeration unit. And as the next day came, Saturday came, and he wrote, he's now starting to turn blue and his fingers are turning blue, and he's now really starting to get cold and to shiver, and he's finding it difficult to breathe. And on Sunday, his writing got more illegible and more kind of confusing, and he obviously didn't know where he was anymore, and he was just writing a lot of rubbish on the wall. And on Monday morning, eventually, when they opened the refrigeration unit, unfortunately, he had passed away. So, as it was an unusual death, they took him to the coroner, to the mortuary, did an autopsy, and the autopsy report said that he had died of hypothermia, of organ failure due to the cold. His organs had failed, and eventually he had just passed away and died. Now, the twist to that story is, which sounds quite plausible, but the twist to that story is that the refrigeration unit wasn't actually working properly. It was 7 degrees in that refrigeration unit, not minus 20. So on Monday morning, he might have been hungry and thirsty, but there was no reason on this earth why he should have passed away. The reason he passed away, he actually thought himself to death. He thought he was going to freeze to death. And as the autopsy showed, he actually did freeze to death, even although the refrigeration unit wasn't even running below freezing. So the power of the mind is just quite unbelievable. And if you can just harness the power of that mind in your business, imagine what you could do. And as Andre said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're always right. So get your mind in gear, get your subconscious, the mind and the subconscious mind talk to each other all the time. And now when you try and make an appointment with somebody, you must actually try and talk to the subconscious mind. I'll give you an example. Have I got time?
Mm.
I'll give you an example. If I phone somebody and say, hey, Andre, I have this amazing new business club that I would like you to join. Come and meet some other people and I can promote your business. And, if Andre doesn't know me, I'm now just a stranger phoning. He's going to think, what the hell is this? I almost want to say poople, but I won't. What is this guy actually on about? I'm not interested in some bloody club or other. I belong to enough clubs and I'm on about 20 different WhatsApp groups. I'm not interested. But now here's the difference. Andre's subconscious mind is saying to the conscious mind, no, man, this another bloody scammer, another someone who wants to put you on half a dozen groups and waste your bloody time. But now if I turn that around and I say, hey, Andre, it's Alan here. I would like to find out more about your business. Why don't we have a coffee together? And then the subconscious mind says to Andre, okay, what the hell does this guy want to sell me? Just ask him, what is this about? So Andre says, okay, what is this about? And I say, you know what? Maybe sometime in the future we can do some business together. The subconscious mind now thinks, hey, this guy wants to do business with us. He doesn't want to sell me something. I think we should see this guy. So the subconscious mind knocks on the conscious mind and says, okay, so what are we doing tomorrow? Can we see this guy tomorrow? The conscious mind says, no, I have a meeting in my diary. We can only see him on Wednesday. And then the conscious mind, the subconscious mind says, okay, Wednesday will do. Just tell him Wednesday is fine. And the conscious mind says, okay, Andre, let's do it on Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Hey, I don't care if he says Sunday at 4 o'clock, as long as he says, let's get together and have a coffee. Because if I'm not eyeball to eyeball with Andre, I'm not going to sell him my concept. So the whole idea of making the appointment is to get in front of the person to tell them about your unique selling proposition. And that's your opportunity to see whether you have a product that can solve his problem. Sales is all about solving a problem. So if you have a product that can solve Andre's problem, you need to ask questions to identify the problem, put your unique selling proposition on the table, sign up the deal, and there you go. A deal a day keeps the bank manager away.
Thanks, Alan. Great. So Alan is going to speak just now, but if we look at the refrigerator story, Alan did mention it. But this guy thought himself to death. You can actually think yourself to success. That's the opposite of it.
Yes.
So our mind can either imprison us or it can empower us.
Mhm.
The choice is yours, how you use that organ. And I think that's what's important.
Mm.
If we believe that, nobody is interested, it's just a price war, we are too late, I'm doing what the other people are doing, the economy is down, our competitors are superior. That is a mindset that you imprison yourself. And remember what I said, your mind can't distinguish between fact and fiction. So if you say that, your mind takes it as though it is correct. But if you change it to, I can do this, I am successful, then that actually gets us there. So, enough of the mindset. Let's get to some practical things. And we are in business. And in business, we have to have a business plan. And a business plan have got certain, if you go and Google it or ChatGPT it will give you a list of things that you have to look at. But we have somebody called Alan Hammond, and he has a different business plan. And his business plan is, and it's a very simple thing. It's not a CRM system. It's not a funnel. It's not, this is how the competitors look like, etc., etc. Alan says, doesn't matter what business you are in. If you speak to 3 people a day and tell them what you do, you will be successful. Now, it sounds so simple. It really does. But to do it will require 2 things: a lot of discipline and a lot of hard work. But Alan, do you want to expand a bit on that concept?
Yes, thanks, Andre. Yes, as Andre said, tell 3 people a day. 3 people a day is 15 for the week, 60 for the month. So if you had 60 appointments in the last 4 weeks, just imagine what would have happened to your business. And that 60 a month converts into 720 or something a year. You had 720 appointments last year. Imagine what that would do to your business. Now, the question I get asked is, okay, but where do I get these people that I can tell 3 people every day? Well, what about this? Let me mention an organization called Friday Club. How funny is that? You go on a Friday morning, let's say there's 30 or 40 people in the room, or 20 people in the room, it doesn't matter. We all know 10 other people. So actually, if there's 20 people in the room, 20 bodies in the room, your prospect list is actually 200. Now that's why it's called networking, because it's not netkeer. You have to phone those 200 people. You start with the 20. That's the easiest appointment you've ever made in your life. Hey, I was at the meeting on Friday, didn't have a chance to chat to you, let's have a coffee. Or a Zoom meeting, whatever, on the telephone, just tell 3 people what you do and find out from them what business are they in. It's about building relationships. And then the most important question you can ask anybody is, who do you know? If you go to a social event or you go to another network function or you go anywhere where you can engage with people, the easiest conversation in the world to start is just to simply ask, okay, so what do you do? And you say, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to give you a call because I'd like to find out more about that. So you already have one person to phone. If you just do that 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 times in a meeting, you'll have 10 people to phone. Then the next day you phone them and you say, hey, I was at the meeting yesterday, didn't have a chance to chat. I did promise to phone you because I want to find out more about your business. Let's have coffee. Then you have a coffee, find out about the business, tell them briefly, notice the emphasis is on briefly about your business, and then ask them this question: who do you know I can speak to? And that's how you get the ball rolling. If every person you speak to, the 3 people you speak to every day, if those 3 people just give you 3 people, your whole process will just keep rolling. And you just keep making appointments. You just keep, you know what? It's all about consistency. But to tell 3 people a day. Now you need to monitor that. How do you monitor that? You get one of those desk calendars that have a square for each day of the month. And I love those desk calendars because when you get to the end of July, you tear July's page off and throw it away because July is gone. And you start in August. And on each square, each day of the month, you write 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And as you sit at your desk every day and you look at your desk calendar, you make sure you fill up that 1, 2, 3 spot on your calendar with names and telephone numbers and speak to the people. And when you get to the 20th of the month, if your calendar is not full, if you're missing names, then, well, you know what you need to do? There's a thing called Goya, Goya. You got to get off your ass and start phoning. Phone the people, engage with the people, connect with the people, collaborate with the people, and don't forget to come to Friday Club on Friday.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, so I let Alan go. I didn't anticipate that he's going to say that. So
I feel like that deserves an applause. Such a good deliverance.
So what I did is I actually did a desk calendar for you with the 1, 2, 3 there. So basically, and I just put it there. If you do this, and this is the task for this month. So it starts on the 1st of August. That's a Saturday, so you've got Saturday off, and you've got Sunday off, and then on the 3rd, on Monday, you start. And there's your 1, 2, 3. And the the nice thing is, if you do this, you have actually contacted or spoken. It's not sending out emails and stuff. It's for people that you actually speak to, preferably looking them in the eye. But if you phone them, you can do that. 63 people that you have contacted throughout a month. And I did put it in on a Friday because you don't have it off on a Friday. It's just jolly easy on a Friday to do that because the people are there.
Yeah.
And it's not your 30 seconds. It's that after the Friday Club that you have the discussion. And then if you have done it for the month, it is 756 people that you have
No, that's
actually
for the
done
year.
it.
For the year.
No, sorry, that's for the year. For the year. 756 people. Now there's a block there that says actual. So my commitment to you guys, because I've heard this story for 4 years, and I haven't done it. So
Goya.
So I'm going to attempt this in the month of August. Okay. And I will share you my list. I will show you my list. Okay. This is going to be on the WhatsApp group. I'm going to put it there. You will get it. And you can just, it's a one pager that Elmi created for me. So it is available. And you can actually use it. And what I will do is I will actually ask her to make one for September and October and November and December. The thing is, the nice thing about this is, if you have done it, let's assume you couldn't get to 3 a day, and you get to a half a day, or half of that. It is still 30 people. That is maybe more than what you did the last month. So it is still people. It's intentional, and you must set that intentional barrier. And go and measure yourself. And what this does, it keeps you honest. You know, I can do it, or I can say, Rita's going to be my, accountability partner or something like that. But this thing is your accountability partner, because if you see blank blocks and you've committed to it, That's my problem. And I'm not going to jippo it. I am going to put it honestly. So in my planning session with Stephen on every Monday, I'm going to put this in so that I can speak to 3 people every single week and tell them about what I do. Okay, so that's important.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So what you need to do to really make that effective and to make sure that you're consistent and you do it every day, you need to program your subconscious mind.
Mm.
And how do you do that? You write 3, just write a 3. What I used to do when I could drive, I took a Koki pen and I wrote a 3 on my windscreen where I looked through the windscreen at the road. So whenever I climbed into my car, which was half a dozen times a day, the first thing I saw when I looked through the windscreen was a 3. And what was I actually doing? I was programming my subconscious mind.
Mm.
And you know what? I'll give you an example. When you start going to gym, it's an issue to get up in the morning and go to gym.
Mm.
But once you've been for 2 or 3 weeks, the day you miss gym, you feel like you've missed something.
Mm.
Now, I want you to have that same feeling when you get up in the morning and you haven't got 3 people to phone. I want you to feel bad. I want you to kick yourself in the Goya and make sure you write a 3 on the mirror where you shave, write a 3 on a pad next to your bed, write a 3 on your car's windscreen. Hey, get a tin of spray paint and paint a 3 on the side of your car door, your driver's door. Paint a 3 on there. And guess what will happen? At the end of the month, well, you report back to us at the end of the month when we do our next month's session, and Andre will report back to you, and I will report back to you because I'm going to institute this program from tomorrow at the Centurion Friday Club. And let's see if we can get the Centurion attendance from 20 to 40 by this time next month. That's a challenge to myself, and Andre can hold me accountable.
Excellent. So if you want to join that WhatsApp group, you can do that. You just scan it. There's a QR code. Our next session is going to be on the 26th of August. And we're going to look how it is. And what I will do is I will show you, I will take a picture of my calendar and I will share it with you. In fact, what I'm going to do so that I am accountable, that you guys keep me accountable, I'm going to share you my calendar every single week. I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to share it with you. If there's a blank day, that's a blank day, and I have to be honest, you're going to see it. Okay. So I'm going to do that. If you want to share your stuff on that group, we're not putting ads on that group. We just talk about this specific issue. But if you want to share yours and you want to be accountable on it, please do so. You are welcome. So there's the QR code to actually use it. And yeah, that's the next. Yeah. So that's a next presentation for next week. Next month. So there's the stuff. Look at for the 26th of August. Make sure that people in your club also attend on the 26th of August. And I'm going to have additional guest speakers at every session. Guys, that's all from my side. Alan, do you want to close off quickly?
Yeah, thanks, guys, for joining us today. Please encourage your colleagues and partners to join us next month. Let's get this message out. I think we had a very important message today. Let's get it out to more people.
Thank you,
Yes.
Alan. Thanks a lot, Rita. And
Absolutely.
what's his name? Stephen is not here. So thanks a lot to Stephen also. I will make sure that I thank him appropriately afterwards. Thanks, guys. Be blessed.
Thanks.
Mooi. Well done, Andre.
Thank you.
Yeah, that went good. That went
And
well.
thanks, Rita, for your time.
No, absolutely, Uncle Al. That was such a standing ovation speech you gave, Uncle Al.
Yeah, man,